could tell he was in a lot of pain, and so I was terrified.
And we're up to take 5. Is that right? Is this take 5? I think this might be take 5.
This is pretty normal for us.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Before we get started,
we want to give a shout out to our newest patrons, David Favor and David Guin. Thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do it without you guys.
To you guys. So, when we last left it, our fiberglass professional had come by and inspected everything. His plan for our keel on the outside was to take off the coatings about 8 inches up from the seam where the hull meets the keel, and about 8 inches down from that seam on the lead, take all the coatings off so that we could prep and glass a 16-inch band all the way around that keel hull joint. So that's what we started to do. Now, when he first said that, I thought that was odd because I have never seen anybody fiberglass a bolt-on keel up. Not saying it doesn't happen, I just haven't seen it. So, when we released our video, we had already started this process, and we got so many comments about how you guys had never seen this before, or it was unnecessary. So that actually made us want to do a little more homework. Now, whether or not we were going to do the fiberglass, I was still going to expose the crack all the way around because there was a crack in the paint, a crack in the primer, a crack in the undercoat where the keel had shifted when it was loose, right? It came apart a little because we had loose keel bolts. So I was going to have to sand that seam either way. So I started on that seam, and Misha started chatting with you guys and making phone calls and trying to get more information. here of a previous repair where they actually epoxied the hull to the keel. I'm still sanding through this area right here. We'll see how far this goes. The keel's bolted on really tightly, and I'm very happy about that. And we might be able to just strip this out and make sure that the seam has good 5200 all the way down it. But we'll see. We need to talk to several other people. The fiberglass guy we spoke with said we needed to carve from here to here out and glass that whole section. But of course, a fiberglass guy is going to solve everything with fiberglass. So we need to contact, at the very least, somebody who knows hunters or bolt-on keels real well and see if that's the right thing to do. There might need to be a little bit of flex in this. I don't know. I mean, it's not fiberglassed on at the factory. Nobody does that. So I feel like there has to be a reason why it's not. But for now, I'm going to get rid of all of this patch, bring it down to the hull and the keel, and take it from there. Back to it.
So we've amended our plan for the outside of our keel based on some comments from our viewers and talking to some different people. So as you can see, we have sanded down our barrier coat for the most part, and we've exposed the line of 5200 between the hull and the keel. There is some cracking in some areas of the 5200, which we're going to cut into. We'll go in probably about 1/4 of an inch or so and refill with 5200, and then repaint, prime, barrier coat. We do have some issues with the fiberglass
Closer this way.
right here that we're going to have to address. And then there is another issue here, which we're not sure what's going on. It looks like there might be some weeping from inside. Could be water coming through from the bilge, which not great. But this is also where our galley sink drains out. So there's a possibility that the drainage is coming down the side and getting this wet. It just, the way it looks from here is that it's coming from here and spreading out. So it's not sure yet whether it's a leak or whether it's just drainage happening.
We found what looked like a weepy spot.
Oh, we did, yeah. So there was an area in the fiberglass, a small area that looked like a little air pocket or something like that, which clearly needed to be addressed anyways.
Some delamination.
Some delamination, thank you. And it looked like there was water coming from the inside of it and spreading outward. So we kind of panicked a little bit about that. We knew that that was also exactly where our galley sink drains out. And there was a line of water that goes down the hole to that spot. Now, when we were looking at it, the line from the galley sink down the hole was dry and there was still a wet spot. And there was water in the fiberglass. We could poke it and water would come out and seep through. So it appeared in the beginning that it was coming from the inside out.
I got up early one morning to use the restroom, and I took the camera with me. It's really awkward going to the restroom with a camera. But I knew we had not run the sink for all night long. And if it was still wet, we were in trouble. I get down to the bottom of the stairs. It's still wet. We might be in trouble. And then I point the camera up the side of the boat and found out that our little drain, we have a little drain that I believe is the drain for the base of the mast. Comes out the side of the boat pretty high. And that was running all the way down the boat to that spot. So even when we weren't using the sink, it was getting it wet. Amazingly, it snaked around the drain and all the way down.
It didn't even come straight down like a normal drip of water. It kind of curved and snaked around and came down right on that spot where the fiberglass was messed up.
Right. So that gave us a lot of confidence that that was the problem. And then we stopped the drains from being able to leak there, and yay, that was it.
But this is where our galley sink drains out, and so we had a stream of water. Instead of pouring right down, it's coming down along the side of the boat and kind of directly in the path of where he's trying to work. So his fix for that was to tape up a Ziploc bag, just because that's what we had on hand, and that reroutes the water. And so instead of it streaming down the side of the hull, it streams down the bag instead. He put a couple of rocks in here to weigh it down, just to give it something to deflect it from pouring directly down into the hull where he's trying to work. So it seems to work so far.
As we're grinding, we find areas that have some delamination right along the seam, some voids and stuff like that. So we're grinding those out to fill and then redo. We will grind in here until there's no more delamination, and you can see the void there. And then we'll put a little glass patch on that, and it'll be fine. was on the port side. We go over to the starboard side. Again, evidence of previous repair. And so we start sanding that away. And then I start sanding away down at the keel area, and some pieces start to flake off. Some pieces of filler or something start to flake off. So I grab the chisel and I poke the chisel underneath there, and sure enough, some pieces are coming off really easy. So there's no bonding agent between the lead of the keel and this filler that's been painted on. So I don't know if we need to take this stuff off the keel, because the lead keel, it's not structural, it's not holding the keel up. And truthfully, the keel is not quite as wide. If you see this picture here, the keel is not quite as wide as that keel well in the hull. So this may have been actually done at the factory as a filler to smooth out the keel and keel hull joint.
To make it pretty, so there's no visible seam.
Right. So, but because I've already taken some pieces of it off, I need to take the rest of it off, and we're going to refill that whole area. I'm going to cut into the seam anyway and put new 5200, about a 1/4 inch in. So then we'll put filler over that, and it'll be nice and pretty. So I take out a hammer and chisel, because that's faster than trying to sand through all this stuff, and it comes off it pretty quick, pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Pop a lock. So at this point, the entire seam on both sides is complete. It's exposed, it's ready to go, and all I need to do now is take my little cutting wheel and cut into that 5200 about a 1/4 inch, repack it, and we're ready to go. And this is where you would see that footage, only you don't. And the reason you don't is because we had an accident. We had an incident. How would you qualify it?
An accidental incident.
An accidental incident.
You had an accident. So last night we went to dinner with some friends, and when we got back it was after dark. And Kate dropped me off at the restroom, and he parked the car and went to the boat. And when I came out of the restroom, I could hear him calling for me, and he's strayed over here, and I found him laying right about here in the gravel. He had gone up the stairs, and transitioning from the staircase onto the boat, he missed the handrail and fell, and he tumbled all the way down the stairs, and he landed in a puddle of water. We had had a lot of rain, so there was about 3 inches of standing water at the bottom of the stairs, and he pulled himself around to where the rocks were dry, and that's where he waited for me. Anyway, I came out of the bathroom, and he was calling to me, and I couldn't see him because it was dark out, but I could tell he was in a lot of pain, and so I was terrified. He's okay, but he's bruised up, pretty scratched up, and
I took a tumble from the top of those stairs. The handrail is 13 feet off the ground. The actual deck of the boat is 11 feet off the ground at that point. So I had 1 foot up on 11 feet above ground, and the stairs are steep. And as you can see here, those stairs have teeth. And I went all the way down like a plank of wood going down a mountain. Bink, bink, bink. Smashed into the bottom. There was about 3 inches of standing water there, and I'm laying in, and I know I'm bleeding in my back, and I can't roll over onto my face, and I am in crippling pain. So I dragged myself about 10 feet out of the water and screamed for my wife.
It was not really a scream, though. It was kind of a pained, sort of muffled.
It was the best I could do, given I couldn't even take a breath. So Misha is amazing at almost everything.
I know where you're going with this.
But this is not our first incident with me falling long distances. I fell off a rock wall one time, a considerable distance. And she is rubbish when it comes to her husband getting hurt.
That's true. One of my weaknesses, definite weaknesses, is I don't handle a crisis situation very well, especially when it's a medical emergency. And I know you guys feel free to comment, but I already know that that's not a good thing when we're going to be sailing across the open ocean. I have to keep my head calm.
She's getting better. So she, the first thing I did was try and calm her down, laying on the ground. Then we spent some time. I talked her through triaging my whole body and figuring out what was broken and what wasn't. Potentially 1 or 2 cracked ribs, lots of cuts and abrasions, but nothing else really major. So that's nice. We're pretty confident that I dislocated one of the false ribs on my left side. We're pretty confident in that because late in the evening on that first day, I had a little cough, and there was a loud pop and pain like I've never felt for about 5 seconds. And then my base state of pain was lower, and I had a little bit of torsion availability in my torso. I could actually move my torso a little bit.
More mobility.
That was several days ago, and I think I might be able to get back to work here shortly. But we didn't get the cutting because I was
incapacitated.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that our Q&A video came out so late on Sunday night, or I guess technically here it was Monday morning by the time it came out, because Cade was just...
I was in bed for a couple of days.
He was not able to edit the videos.
Just couldn't do anything. Especially that first day before that loud pop and that rib going back in place. Whoo boy, there was nothing.
It was rough.
Misha's having to literally like help me to get to the seated position because I can't do anything. Okay, well, that's it for this one. Check us out at www.forloveofwind.com. You can find out about us and the dogs and the boat, where we're going, where we've been. If you want to buy us a drink, we'd really appreciate it. Misha's got a blog that she's been posting on regularly, so you can get her thoughts on the journey starting back when we were boat shopping and moving forward. So she's going at it from the beginning.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that notification bell and follow us on social media. And this week, check us out on Patreon as well. See you next week.
Bye.